On today's show, Egor Demin responds to a Jordi Fernandez challenge with one of his top performances of the season as the Nets steamroll the Bucks for their largest win in franchise history. I'll offer my top takeaways from the game right now.
You are Locked On Nets, your daily Brooklyn Nets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in to Locked On Nets right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Now the number one sports podcast network. It's your team, the Brooklyn Nets, every single day. I'm Erik Slater, Brooklyn Nets beat reporter for ClutchPoints.com. Thank you for making me your first listen of the day. This show is 100% free on all those great platforms. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. And on today's episode, I'm going to be recapping the Nets' 127-82 blowout win over the Milwaukee Bucks on Sunday at Barclays Center. And this was a game that the Bucks really didn't put up much of a fight. I mean, the Nets won every quarter, 3 of them by double digits. They were up by 12 after 1, 17 after 2, 28 after 3. I'm going to focus on Egor Demin's performance in this first segment, but, briefly, I mean, this is a 45-point win. It's tied for the largest Nets win in franchise history. The other was a 45-point win over the Washington Bullets in 1993. And, I mean, this Bucks team is just horrendous. I mean, they shot 31 of 79 from the field in this one, 39%, 8 of 35 from 3, 23%. They had 20 turnovers. They didn't score in the final 7 minutes of the game. I'm not misspeaking on that. Final 7 minutes of the game, the Bucks did not score. But, I mean, credit to the Nets. I mean, they started hot. They put their foot on the Bucks' necks. They didn't let up. And, I mean, Giannis Antetokounmpo, he's not here in the arena for this one. I'm sure he's at home. He's rehabbing the calf strain or whatever. It's got to be watching this game like, what the F, man? I mean, I know that the writing's on the wall for that situation. It's probably over. But this reminds me of, the Nets situation where Kevin Durant requested the trade during that 2022 offseason or whatever it was, and the Nets didn't grant the trade request. And Kevin came back and he said, we got asked at the media day that year, like, what led you to request the trade? And he pretty much said that, in the games that I missed the prior season when I was out for an extended period, we were losing and getting blown out by teams that we shouldn't have, and we should have been competing better. And you look at this Bucks team, when Giannis goes out, they're completely helpless, and I just feel like the writing's on that wall with that situation. But, who was more animated than this, Giannis watching it at home or Thanasis on the end of the bench jumping up and down and trying to get the Bucks to play harder? I don't know. But as I said, credit to the Nets. I mean, they started hot, and Egor Demin, he really got things going for the Nets out of the gate. And this was a big-time bounce-back game for Egor, because Jordi Fernandez publicly called him out after the Mavs lost on Friday. I mean, Egor had one of his worst performances of the season in that one. He had 3 points, 1 assist, and 2 turnovers on 1 of 7 shooting in that game. He played only 18 minutes because Jordi benched him in the fourth quarter. And then Jordi gave the quote that raised a lot of eyebrows and, got some notoriety on social media. He said, and I quote, "Yegor's got to be better. Otherwise, the minutes are going to go down and somebody else will take advantage of them." So that was as public of a challenge as you're ever going to get, or a warning, or whatever you want to say, from a head coach to a rookie like that. And Egor responded to that challenge in a big way in this one. He comes out, he has 17 points on 6 of 8 shooting tonight, and 6 of 8 shooting from the field and 2 of 4 from 3, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, and 3 steals, only 2 turnovers. And you knew it right away with Egor. I mean, he came out and he hit a 3 on the opening possession, and then he drove and scored in the pick and roll on a, possession or 2 after that. He, another later possession in the first quarter, he drives, he hits like a one-legged fadeaway jumper near the baseline. So it was much more aggressive out of the gate. You saw it. And we talked to Egor after the game, and he said that was a focus. And you can see it, like, there's games with Egor where he's very aggressive, and then there's games where it looks like he's just completely floating through. It almost seems like there's 2 Egors. Like, you have the games where he comes in right out of the gate, he's trying to get downhill, he's trying to drive, he's trying to press the issue. And a lot of the time it looks good. Sometimes it looks ugly. But then you have the games where it looks like he's just floating. That Dallas game, I think he was pressing a little bit, but a large chunk in the game, it looks like he's just floating. That Utah game recently, at Barclays Center when the Nets lost. It looks like, Egor attempted 3 shots in that one. It looks like he's just floating through the game, and he's not really engaged, and he's not really being intentional and decisive about what he's doing. And in this game, that could not have been further from the case. I mean, I said, in the first quarter, when Egor gets going early, he tends to play a lot better. Like, you don't see a lot of games where Egor really has it going early, and then he's just really bad down the stretch. It's usually, if Egor starts slow, he doesn't look aggressive, he doesn't look intentional about it, he doesn't look like he's going to be good throughout the rest of the game. Like, that's a lot of the time how it's going with him. And in this one, we talked to him after the game, and he said that having a short memory has been a big thing for him. And we talked about, his ability to bounce back from that Jordi Fernandez challenge. And I asked him, having a short memory, has that been a strength of yours throughout your basketball career? Is it something that you're starting to learn now? And Egor said that he never really had to have too short of a memory, early on in his basketball career, because he really, him and the teams that he was on really dominated every step of the way. When he was in Moscow, early in his basketball days, and then he went to Real Madrid, he said, his whole time with Real Madrid, over 2 years, he only lost 3 games. And he obviously played really well during that and really well during his days in Russia. So there was really no need for him to have a short memory. He got a taste of it in college. And he also said that Kevin Young, former NBA coach, now the head coach at BYU, told him at BYU, said, look, like, you're going to be in the NBA. It's an 82-game season. You're playing a lot of basketball. You're going to have off nights. You're going to have to be able to put it in the rear view, put it behind you, step into the next game with confidence. And Egor did that tonight. I mean, he looked really confident. And there was one sequence that I really thought was kind of exemplary of Egor's engagement and his, attitude and his fight in this one. And I think it was the third quarter of the game. Gary Trent Jr. Egor was bringing the ball up the court, and Gary Trent Jr. stripped him and went down and scored on the other end, and kind of like a layup. And then Gary Trent Jr. right after, he starts clapping in Egor's face. He starts talking a little shit to him. And then Egor gets the ball. He comes down the court. He gets in the pick and roll. He has Kyle Kuzma guarding the drop coverage in the pick and roll, and he sees some space. He steps back and he hits a 3. And on the way back down the court, Egor made sure to find Gary Trent Jr. and bark something at him from across the court. I don't know exactly what he said, but he was animated. He was yelling. Somebody in my Twitter reply said that he called him a bitch. I don't know if that's true, but he was pissed off and he was animated and he was barking at him. And I really loved that sequence from Egor, because it's just nice to see some fire in his fight. Obviously, some fire and fight from him. Obviously, there's some criticism of him. He's like a European dude. He's a little bit more of a finesse guy. Some people say he's soft, going to the basket, doesn't like contact or whatever. But I like that sequence, just him showing a little dog in him. He got stripped. This guy was talking trash to him, which Gary Trent Jr. shouldn't have been, because they were down by 25 points or whatever at that time. But Egor got pissed. He takes the ball. He hits a big-time shot in the guy's face, and then he comes back down, and he has something to say. So seeing that fire, seeing that fight from him, I think that was a really nice thing to see. And we've seen that in spurts from Egor, throughout this first, 26, 27 games, whatever it's been. And you look at Egor, just taking a step back and looking at the overall sample size. Like I've said, that I've been pretty pleased with what Egor has done. And I think that, it's a fair assessment to say that I don't know if he's exceeding expectations, but I think this is pretty good relative to a lot of people saying that this pick was the biggest reach of the draft, that this was a disaster pick for the Nets. Egor really hasn't looked that bad in the totality of it. I'd border on saying that he's looked solid. I mean, you look at over 16 games as a starter, Egor's had 10 points, 3.3 rebounds, 4 assists, 40% from the field, 36.4% from 3. If you look at over the last month, the rookie's averaging 10 points and 4 assists on over 35% shooting from 3 over the last month. It's Kon Knippel and Egor Demin. Those are the only 2 guys. So am I saying that Egor has been great? No, but I'm saying as a rookie, coming in, we knew that he was a project. We knew that he was going to have a long way to go. I think that this has been very solid. I think you see some overreactions from Nets fans like Egor. These last 3 games, he had a really bad game against the Jazz. Then he, had a whatever game, like okay game against the Pelicans. Then he really struggles against the Mavericks. And you see some of the reaction from fans, on social media, in my comments on YouTube, online, wherever. You just see like the sky kind of falling. Oh, Egor's a bust. And that's ridiculous to say about any rookie a quarter of the way into their rookie season. But, I just think that everybody needs to take a step back. When you evaluate it from like a 10,000-foot view, Egor's been pretty good. And I talked about this with Tim Capstra. I mean, look at Noah Clowney. Noah Clowney's in his 3rd season right now. Nobody thought that he was going to have this kind of breakout season that he's having. And he's really taking a huge step forward and developing. And Noah and Egor were around the same age when they came into the NBA. So there's going to be growing pains with Egor, but I think that he's flashed a lot to be encouraged about. And fans are going to have to be patient. And when we get to, the 2nd and then the 3rd season, there's going to be a lot more to judge Egor off of, but I think that the early returns have been encouraging. I think that this game, with him responding to that Jordi Fernandez challenge the way he did, I just think another, feather in his cap and another really positive step for him. But it wasn't only Egor in this one. I mean, this was a complete team effort from the Nets, and it took a lot of different guys to embarrass the Bucks the way they did. So what did I see from the other Nets on this team, and what does this overall recent stretch from the Nets and this performance say about their long-term outlook, their tank outlook? I'll get into all that when I continue the show after a quick break. Guys, the holidays always show up faster than we expect, and if you're still putting together gifts, last-minute decor, or getting your home ready for guests, Wayfair has you covered. Whether you need a quick room refresh, new bedding, or those final seasonal touches, Wayfair makes it easy to get what you need fast. Wayfair is your one-stop shop for everything home with decor, furniture, kitchen essentials, and gifts for every style and every budget, all delivered quickly and easily. Guys, their selection is huge. Bedding, decor, kitchen gear, kids' room updates. I was able to find everything in one place. It's so easy to shop by style. It helps you pick pieces that actually fit your home instead of guessing. The Wayfair items you order will instantly refresh your space without a big project. So get last-minute hosting essentials, gifts for all of your loved ones, and decor to celebrate the holidays for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Guys, NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is the best when the game starts to shift, a receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Guys, live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. If you're watching, say you're watching Giants Commanders today, you can jump into the action on whichever side you see fit. Player props update as guys heat up. Maybe you got a grandpa who's a big football fan and you want to go for the grandpa status with Phillip Rivers. You can bet live on Phillip Rivers' over passing yards. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Coming back from the break on today's Locked On Nets episode, reacting to Brooklyn's 45-point blowout win over the Bucks at Barclays Center. And I hit on Egor Demin, but this really was a team effort. I mean, you look across the board, in a lot of these recent games, I mean, over the last month, it's been Michael Porter Jr. putting the team on his back on a lot of nights, really carrying the load. And in this game, I mean, Michael Porter Jr., he didn't even have a good scoring game. I mean, he had 12 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists, 4 of 11 shooting from the field, and yet the Nets win by 45 points, and they tie their largest win in franchise history. And it really was because it was a team effort all the way across the board. I mean, the defense was smothering. I mean, this Bucks team had nothing going offensively. I mean, I got the stat sheet right here. You look at the Bucks in this one. I mean, they had 4 guys in double figures. They only had 1 guy score over 13 points, and that was Gary Trent Jr. at 20. But I said they shot 39% from the field, 23% from 3. The Nets were overwhelming them. The Nets forced 20 turnovers. They scored a bunch of points off turnovers. And then offensively, they had 9 players in double figures. So this was about as, spread out of a team effort as you're going to see. I mean, the Nets obviously had their starters, did a lot of good things with Egor, with Nick Claxton, Michael Porter Jr., I just said, Terrence Mann, all those guys, Noah Clowney also. And then you have guys coming off the bench like Tyrese Martin and Day'Ron Sharpe are coming in and killing Milwaukee's second unit. So I thought that this was just a really nice all-around performance. I mean, you look at Tyrese Martin in this one, he had 14 points, 5 of 8 from the field, 4 of 5 from 3. And on the nights where Tyrese Martin plays well off the bench, the Nets win a lot of those games. That just seems to be how it goes. Day'Ron Sharpe, I thought, also had 8 early points in this one. He was really, giving the Bucks all they could handle inside. So you just have a lot of guys playing well for the Nets as of late, really complimenting Michael Porter Jr. And in this one, MPJ didn't do that much. But I think you just look at this from the Nets perspective. I mean, they've won 4 of their last 6 games. They're overachieving once again. I'm going to get into what I think that means for their tank. But this coaching staff for the second straight season, the Nets are just getting these guys to punch above their weight pretty consistently. I didn't even mention it, but, Jordi Fernandez didn't even coach in this game. He tested positive for the flu, so he was home. Steve Hetzel, coached this one. Do I think that that's that big of a deal? No, but Steve Hetzel is regarded as a very good coach throughout the NBA, a very high-level assistant coach, and he's become, Jordi's go-to guy in that coaching staff. And you look at Jordi, you look at Steve, and just beyond that, this coaching staff, as I said, last season, Jordi got universal praise for getting that Nets team to overachieve the way they did. They started off, whatever they did, 9-10 before they really leaned heavily into the tank. And you look at this one, after the 0-7 start, the Nets are 7-11, and they're once again continuing to punch above their weight. And that doesn't really bode well for their tank outlook this season, but it does bode well long-term, because having coaches who can get teams and get guys to punch above their weight, that's becoming the name of the game in a lot of, middle tier NBA teams. And obviously the Nets want to get to the top tier, but I mean, look at how impactful coaching is around the NBA right now. I mean, you look at teams who, there are some teams that don't have business really being where they are sometimes. I mean, look at teams this season like the Miami Heat, the Boston Celtics, the Phoenix Suns. I mean, teams who are getting coached really well and are coaching them to wins on a consistent basis. I mean, you look at a team like the Heat. I mean, Erik Spoelstra is like the most dramatic example of that. He's probably the best coach of the NBA, or he's up there with guys like Rick Carlisle and whoever else you want to say. But Erik Spoelstra is a good enough coach that he consistently gets that team to punch above its weight, and he's brought them to finals. They're in the playoff mix every year, and if they are able to get like that true 1A number, that number 1A guy, they're really going to be in the mix for titles because they just have that infrastructure. So, you have a coaching staff in Jordi Fernandez. You have guys who look like they're able to get the most out of players. I mean, I've talked about that. You look last season with guys like Cam Johnson, Dennis Schroeder. You look at this season like a guy like MPJ, the way Noah Clowney's developing. I just think that there's a lot of positive things happening from this Nets coaching staff, and I think that really bodes well for their floor long term. But if you're talking about ceiling, at the end of the day, you have no real chance in the NBA until you get that top guy. And the Nets, from a tanking perspective, I mean, this recent stretch, like it doesn't really bode well for their tank. I mean, I hate having to come on here and talk about the tank. I know some fans get frustrated by it, but at the end of the day, like the Nets operated this offseason to put themselves in position to tank and to put themselves in position to try to have the best chance to get a top draft pick. Like last season, it was a little ambiguous because they kept guys like Dennis Schroeder, Cam Johnson, DFS into the season. This year, make no mistake about it. I mean, the Nets made 5 first-round picks. They traded away Cam Johnson. They went into the season with only rookies at point guard, and this was a team that was trying to do a lot to set itself up for a tank. I mean, Joe Tsai admitted this much, and you look at this recent stretch. I mean, as I said, the Nets have won 4 of their last 6 games. There's now, after that 0-7 start, they're 7-11. Since that 0-7 start, and 7-8 when Michael Porter Jr. plays during that stretch. I mean, you look at that 18-game stretch where the Nets are 7-11. They're 19th in offense, 16th in defense, and 19th in net rating. So they really haven't been like a terrible basketball team by any of the stretch of the imagination. They've been pretty average in middle of the pack for well over a month now. And I said, I mean, the goal or the expectation going into this season was the Nets competing for that top lottery spot. And that ship has sailed, man. Like that ship is over. Like the top 2, I don't see them catching the Pelicans or the Wizards. And right now, they're not even playing like one of the 3 worst teams in the league. It's not even really close because you look at it, like as I said, over those last 18 games, they're 19th in net rating. I mean, they're 7-11, 7-8 when MPJ plays. So, getting into the top 3 of the lottery odds, I think should still be the goal. But it looks murky. I mean, you look at the teams that they're competing with. You talk about teams like the Pacers, like the Hornets, like the Kings. With the way the Nets are playing right now, should I be confident? Should anybody be confident that they're going to get ahead of those teams for sure and get into that number 3 spot? I'd say no. I mean, do they still have a solid chance? Yes. But they're going to have to do some things. They're going to have to lean more aggressively into the tank to make that happen. The silver lining is the Nets do have a tough schedule coming up. Like you look at these next 6 games, they have a really tough 6-game stretch. You look at the strength of schedule overall in the NBA, I think the Nets have the 4th to the 5th hardest strength of schedule remaining. So that will help them out. These last, games, or these last 6 games where the Nets are 4-2, they played a lot of really bad teams during that stretch. So I think it will get corrected a little bit by this difficult stretch of games coming up, but still, the Nets have multiple matchups against the Wizards. They have multiple matchups against the Pelicans. They have multiple matchups against the Hornets, the Kings, a lot of bad teams throughout the rest of the season. So in a lot of those games, I mean, if they have the roster as it is right now, the Nets are going to be favorites in a lot of those games. So it's going to be on, Sean Marks in that front office to ramp up the heat somewhat on this tank if the goal is really getting into the top 3 and getting into that 3rd spot in the draft lottery standings as it should be. And what might that look like? That's going to look like holding guys out on certain nights, whether you talk about a Michael Porter Jr. or a Nick Claxton, whatever veterans, holding them out, potentially looking into trades for a guy like Michael Porter Jr. or Nick Claxton I'm kind of on the fence of whether I want the Nets to trade MPJ or Clax. Like, I'm going to do probably full episodes on that moving forward. But like, those are the avenues at their disposal. Holding guys out, exploring trades, and leaning into rookie development. And the Nets have leaned into rookie development, but in this game, it was another game where the rookies didn't get a lot of burn until the end of the game. A lot of them, when you talk about guys like Nolan Troy and Drake Powell. So what did I see from the rotations, and what did I see from the rookies outside of Egor Demin? I'll get into all that when I close out Locked On Nets after a quick break. Guys, let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress. I'm tired, or it happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support. And that's where Rugiet comes in. Rugiet.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Guys, Rugiet makes it easy to get started. You just connect with a board-certified doctor, 100% online, no awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. If prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. The process is fast, simple, and private, and it's all handled by real doctors. It's about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. So visit rugiet.com/LockedOnNBA to get 15% off your first order. That's rugiet.com/LockedOnNBA. And don't forget to use our code LockedOnNBA so they know that we sent you. Rugiet. Stop making excuses and start making moves. Coming back from the break on today's Locked On Nets episode, recapping Brooklyn's 45-point win over the Milwaukee Bucks, and want to close it out talking about some of the rookies. And this was another game where the rookies did play minutes. I mean, Egor Demin played 25 minutes in this one. Danny Wolf played 24 minutes in this one, or close to 24 minutes. But you talk about the other two rookies, which are Drake Powell and Nolan Troy. Those are the guys whose minutes have been in flux a little bit more. And, they played, but they didn't play as much, I think, as some people would expect. I mean, Drake Powell ended up playing 23 minutes. So that's good minutes from Drake Powell, but a lot of those came in the fourth quarter. And then Nolan Troy plays 9 minutes in this one. So, it might have been a game where you would expect Nolan to play a little bit more. Danny Wolf played 23 minutes, almost 24. So you did get like rookie minutes in this one. Danny Wolf had one of his first off games, since entering this Nets rotation. He had 8 points. He was 3 of 12 from the field and 0 of 7 from 3. So we started to see a little bit of the 3-point regression from Danny Wolf. I said that was eventually going to happen. So not that surprised, but as I said, like Egor and Danny are the guys whose minutes have been really solidified in this rotation over these last, Egor the whole season and Danny over these last 6 games, and they play 25 and 23 minutes. And then Drake Powell plays 23 minutes, most of them in the fourth quarter. But I did think that Drake flashed some really encouraging things. I mean, he was slow out of the gate, but then he came in and he got really hot down the stretch, and he finishes with 13 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. 3 turnovers, so got to clean that up, but 4 of 7 from the field, 2 of 4 from 3. I think you're seeing, he had some good possessions down the stretch of this game. He hit a really nice 3, a couple of really nice contested 3s in the fourth quarter. He had a nice drive on Kyle Kuzma where he got around him and finished at the cup. He had another transition finish. He had an alley-oop to Danny Wolf. So good stuff from Drake Powell. Drake was another guy who answered somewhat of a challenge from Jordi Fernandez in this one. Not as big as how, Egor Demin did, but Drake only played, less than 3 minutes during that Mavericks loss. He came out, he had, a bad turnover. Jordi didn't like some of the things that he saw, and then Jordi benched him for the rest of that game. I thought that was a little bit of a rash decision, but Jordi is trying to, implement into these guys this like earn, not given mindset. Like that's the mantra, for better or worse, that Jordi Fernandez is rolling with throughout the rest of the season. And I do think that there's positives of that, in that, you're teaching guys that like there's, consequences for not being engaged, not doing some of the things that are expected of you. Do I think that, Drake Powell should be playing less than 3 minutes in a game like that? No, but he comes out tonight. He plays 23 minutes. And I think especially down the stretch, it was a good performance from Drake. But then you look at Nolan. Nolan ended up playing 9 minutes in this one. He played the last 9 minutes of the game. He didn't come in until then. And that, I'm not shocked by it, but it's a little surprising because, as I said, leading up to this game, leading up to that Mavs game, Nolan was killing it in the G League. He had a 9-game stretch where he was averaging like 21 points and 7 assists on over 50% shooting from the field and from 3. And then the Nets call him up after, ahead of that Dallas game. You really think like, okay, Nolan's going to get his extended audition, his extended shot. Ben Suraf started the first 5 games of the season at point guard, got sent down to the G League, came back and had, a 5-game stretch recently where he got to really flash some things. The Nets call Nolan Troy up. You think that maybe he's just going to step into that role. And he only played, 9 or 10 minutes in that Dallas game. And in this one, he only plays 9 minutes in garbage time. So it's a little surprising, but it's not that surprising because you look at it, everybody was active for this game, for the Nets. Like Michael Porter Jr. played. Like you look at that recent stretch where Ben Surratt got called up and he was able to get some minutes during that, recent 5-game stretch before the last Dallas game. And the Nets were resting guys to get him those minutes. I mean, MPJ missed 2 of those games. Terrence Mann missed 2 of those games. And we've seen Jordi Fernandez and the Nets, they're going 10 deep in their rotation. And in this game, with everybody available, the Nets are 10 deep. There just isn't a rotation spot for Nolan unless they're going to extend that to 11. So, like you look at the 10 deep that the Nets went in this one, it was the starters with Egor, Terrence Mann, MPJ, Noah Clowney, and Nick Claxton. And off the bench, it's Zaire Williams, Tyrese Martin, Danny Wolf, Day'Ron Sharpe, and Drake Powell. So, Nolan was that 11th guy, and the Nets aren't able to find minutes for him. And I think that it just speaks to, the crowded rotation the Nets have, because who are the Nets going to take out of the rotation on a night where everyone's healthy? I mean, they have gone to, as I said, resting guys. They rested MPJ and rested Terrence Mann during that stretch to get Surratt some minutes. But tonight, everyone's available, and it's just too crowded. Are you going to remove a guy like Zaire Williams from the rotation? Or are you going to remove a guy like, Tyrese Martin from the rotation? I don't think you can. Can you go 11 deep? Maybe you can do that, but that just kind of cuts into the minutes for everyone else. And you're already hearing some complaints from fans about a guy like Drake Powell not getting enough minutes. So it's a tough situation, especially with Danny Wolf coming in, solidifying himself. The Nets have 5 rookies. It's going to be tough to find, minutes for all these guys. And I think that's why, with what I said in the past segment about their tank, being on kind of shaky ground right now, I think that's a reason, maybe you look into trades for guys like MPJ or Nick Claxton. It comes down, as I said in my last episode, to the evaluation. Do they think that MPJ and Nick Claxton, are they high on those guys long-term? If they are, I don't think you trade them just to bolster the tank or just to open up minutes for rookies. But if you're not that high on them and you're getting decent offers for them, I think you have to look into it, because that bolsters your tank. It also opens minutes for the rookies. And I also think that, you can look into trades for other guys. You can look in bigger trades where you're looking at, using guys as salary fillers, whether you talk about a trade with the Boston Celtics with Anthony Simons. The Nets could send out multiple guys in a 2-for-1. That could open a rotation spot. And I also think that this speaks to something when Cam Thomas comes back. I mean, I've said, I just don't see Cam Thomas it really being logical. The Nets bringing him back and putting him in the rotation, because we're already seeing the Nets are having a tough time finding minutes for some of these rookie guys. Like, they really have to maneuver to find minutes for these rookie point guards outside of Egor Demin. And if you bring Cam Thomas back into the fold, not only is that just one extra guy who's stepping in, it's also one extra guy who, is taking up ball handling reps and ball handling and backcourt minutes, in a rotation where you have 3 rookie point guards. So, or on a team, on a roster where you have 3 rookie point guards, so you're going to be trying to get rotation minutes. So we'll see how they handle it. Ultimately, Traore plays 9 minutes in this one. He had some nice passes. He did some nice things, but I'm not going to take anything too much from a, garbage time, 9 minutes in garbage time during a 45-point win over the Bucks. So it's tough to tell with Nolan right now, because he's played 9 minutes in both of these games, and he really hasn't gotten an extended runway to have extended opportunities on the ball and show what he can do. Do I think Nolan's necessarily ready to come in and play NBA minutes? I don't, even though he was killing in the G League. I think you just see, things look a little bit fast for him at the NBA level right now, but we're not really going to know until he gets the extended audition. If he gets the extended audition and he's not up to the task and it looks really, really ugly, you can send him back down to the G League. But I do think that you need to give him that chance at least, especially as the season progresses, as we get closer to the deadline and the All-Star break and we get further on. You're really going to have to give these guys an extended runway to experiment, to make some mistakes, and to see what they can do. And in order to do that, the Nets are going to have to maneuver a little bit. And I think that a lot of that could involve trade conversations, and we'll see, because we're getting to that December 15th date. I mean, this is going to be published on December 15th. So today, if you're listening on the audio feed, is the unofficial start of trade season. So I'm going to have a lot more podcasts covering that, but that is going to be a big part of how the Nets are going to try to go about bolstering the tank, A, and B, as a byproduct, opening up minutes for these rookie guys. So we'll see how the Nets handle that. But that's all I got for today's Locked On Nets episode. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. If you do not already, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Nets on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts, whether Apple Podcasts or Spotify. If you enjoy the content, take a second, smash that like button, leave a comment, leave a 5-star review. Anything you can do to engage is much appreciated. But that's got a few days off, and they're going to be back at Barclays Center on Thursday. So I'll have coverage of all that and more when I'm back tomorrow talking more Brooklyn Nets basketball.